Everything is expensive. Everything. I mean, depending on who you talk to, someone will say their car note is high, inflation is high. Someone else will say the grocery prices have skyrocketed. But you know what else is high? The cost of empathy. Empathy is expensive. Let me tell you, empathy is expensive. What is going on, world? Welcome to the KimUnity Soulutions Podcast, the only podcast that turns workplace challenges into real life solutions. I am your host, Kim the SME, and today we are talking about empathy, the price of empathy. I'll start with the definition. Empathy is the action of understanding, being aware of, being sensitive to, and vicariously experiencing the feelings, thoughts, and experience of someone else. This is by Merriam-Webster. Empathy is not like sympathy. Empathy is when you feel what someone else is feeling, whereas sympathy is you feel sorry for what someone else is going through. There's two totally different things. Why is empathy expensive? Because it can cost you your own happiness. Has this ever happened to you? And I know not everyone can relate. Not everyone is empathetical. Some people don't have that in them. It is a gift, but we have to learn how to manage it well or it will take over. Let me tell you what empathy is. Right now, as I speak to you all, California is experiencing some tremendous wildfires. What is a wildfire? My daughter asked me, and I'm from California. I currently live in Texas, but I'm from California. And most of them start from brush fires. And it hurts me because, and I empathize for those that are struggling with this because I put myself in their shoes. That's what empathy is. Empathy is when you put yourself in someone else's shoes. And I can only imagine, and I understand what California is like. I can only imagine trying to leave and get away from the fires, but you can't because of traffic. Can you imagine packing up, getting in your car to leave only to be stuck in traffic? I was watching it on the news where some families were in their cars stuck in traffic and the fire was on both sides of them. So you see people getting out of their cars with their suitcase in tow, and they're walking through the streets, through the roads, because they can't get through. They can't drive through. On the next clip that aired on the news, it showed that the bulldozers were pushing these empty cars to the side so other traffic could get through. My heart hurts. Imagine those who were struggling before the fires. Imagine those who, let's say there's dialysis patients who have to have these treatments every other day. When you're on dialysis, you usually have to go to get your blood. I don't know exactly what you call it. I'm not a doctor, but you have to go get it cleansed, or you have to go through some kind of process. Usually it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, something to that effect. Imagine those who are on oxygen. They even showed someone who was in a medical bed. I'm not sure if someone came and got him and took him to maybe like a shelter, but he had an oxygen tank. Can you imagine being elderly with an oxygen tank and then having to go through a fire? He was already suffering before the fire. So imagine how the air quality is affecting him now. And I started thinking about, where's his family? Are they close? I know my parents, they're out there. I'm out of state. Does his family know where he is? Does he have help? People need their medicines refilled. Like, we don't know what people were going through. And some people, I do hear it. I hear people saying, well, that area, they have money. Just because you live in a certain area doesn't mean everyone in that area has money. And regardless, loss is loss. Loss is loss. Yes, may they recover a little faster? Yes, absolutely. But when you think about the pictures and the memories, and I know that's minor because they still have their lives. But again, if you put yourself, have you ever lost a photo album? I lost my phone in Jamaica at the Reggae Sumfest several years back. And it had my grandmother's pictures in it. It had my daughter's pictures in it when she was a baby. I can't get that back. Of course, I didn't have it backed up. I didn't know anything about it being backed up. This was over 5, 6, maybe even 7 years ago now. But those are memories you can't get back. But people have lost their homes. Who knows if they have insurance? This is what empathy is. It's about putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. While California is going through fires, I'm in Texas and we are bracing for a winter storm. When I wake up in the morning, I'm expecting to see heavy snow. And we know what happened in Texas several years back when, all the snow came. The state was ill prepared. So I pray that, everyone is covered. Everyone will have warmth. The homeless will be in shelters. But it's heartbreaking. I remember several years back, that same year when Texas went through it all and the whole grid went down. I remember, because I was blessed to still have power, I got up early and I made a big pot of soup. It was lentil soup. And of course, I'm thinking about everybody that would eat it. So it didn't have meat in it for the vegans. It didn't have any milk in it for the vegetarians. It was lentils. And we did this for Thanksgiving, a few weeks before Thanksgiving as a family. But I had made this big pot that I was trying to give away. But guess what? Just when I was getting ready to, take it off the stove and figure out where I was going to go to give it away to those in need, we turned on the news and it said that our city water supply was tainted and not to drink the water, not to use the water. Can you imagine? Here I am about to go and help those in need and the water's no good. And here I am, I made soup. I'm so glad that I didn't take it out. I don't know, what was wrong with our water supply at the moment, but I'm glad that I was privy to hear that message and to not deliver it. But that is where my heart was, because I'm a giver, especially when I have it. I heard for those who had children and maybe they were hungry. Your mind just goes. When you have a heart like that, your mind just goes into this never-ending tunnel of the what ifs and the who's and the how's and the what for's. How can I be the solution? How can I help? How can I lend a helping hand for those in need? Is this you? When we don't have empathy, we lose the human connection. How else can we relate to each other? But I'm sure we all have it, but just on different levels. And when you meet some people, or when you work with people, or been in contact with some, you may think like, wow, they're heartless. But that may not be the case. That may not be the case. But empathy is how we maintain that human connection. That's how we're able to help each other and understand each other and console each other. And it may not always be with words because we don't always have the right words, but being present, extending a helping hand. That's empathy. We see it at work. Sometimes we don't see it, but we see it at work. We see when people lack empathy. We see when management lacks empathy. And empathy is regardless of where you are, regardless of what environment you're in, personally or professionally, we see it and the lack thereof. We see it when there's a family emergency and the manager just does not understand, doesn't care to understand. Yes, I understand that. Yes, I know that we don't have to tell them exactly what the problem is, but I know people do. Some people do just to emphasize how dire the need is, but it doesn't even help. Imagine that. Imagine treating people how you want to be treated. Because it's going to come back. It's going to come back. There's a quote that I found, and it says, "The greatest cruelty is our casual blindness to the despair of others." The greatest cruelty is our casual blindness to the despair of others. How do you not care? How do you turn a blind eye? Those of us that don't and can't, it's expensive. It takes a toll on us. It takes a piece of us. You think about certain professions like healthcare workers or social workers, therapists, people who are always tending to the needs of others. What have you experienced their empathy levels to be? I have been in the presence of doctors and experience their bedside manners and just be appalled at how they speak to people, of how they treat people. And at the moment, I'm thinking, how heartless of you. The audacity of you. But as I was preparing for this episode and to speak to you all today, it made me think like, they are in contact with people 50 to 100 times a day. How much empathy do they have to give? How much care do they have to extend? Are they heartless, or are they running low on being thoughtful and heartful? Have they expended? Do they have to prepare themselves? Do they have to intentionally manage their empathy? And I would say probably so. That's what some of us need to do. Depending on the toll you allow it to take, we need to be better managers of our empathy levels, of our empathy. Because you can't just keep giving and giving without expending and running out. We only have so much, right? So when I think back, I may have to apologize or just think differently for some of these physicians that I've been in contact with. because they can only do so much. Are some of them out of line? Absolutely. But that's why therapists need their own therapist. They're taking in so much they have to release. It is so important to have self-care when you are empathetical. We have to be better managers of our time and our energy and our resources and our hearts. That is what's expensive. Yes, inflation is high. Groceries are high. All of that is high, but so is the cost of empathy. It takes a toll. And obviously, I'm speaking to some of those who understand exactly what I'm saying, and others who may just think, okay, well, you need to stop, or you're doing too much, or yes, you have to think about yourself. We do, but we have to find a way to limit that, separate ourselves, create boundaries. That's a better way of saying it. We have to create better boundaries. That's part of management. We have to be able to serve ourselves as well as serve others. We have to serve ourselves in order to serve others. Empathy is expensive, y'all. So it's called compassion fatigue. I've heard of emotional exhaustion. Here's the definition for compassion fatigue. It says the decreased ability to empathize, feelings of helplessness and burnout due to the demands of supporting those who are suffering. This is coming from an article by Very Well Mind. Very Well Mind. Again, it says compassion fatigue is the decreased ability to empathize, feelings of helplessness and burnout due to the demands of supporting those who are suffering. So that will be what I was talking about when I'm speaking about these doctors and their horrible bedside manners. Maybe they are experiencing compassion fatigue. They no longer have the ability, or they have decreased ability to empathize. They are burnt out due to the demands of supporting those in need. I'm sure some people are thinking, okay, well, they need to leave the occupation then. There's no one on earth who can take on that much. Everyone needs a break. Everyone needs to find a way to manage. And here's the thing, if you can't manage it, yes, you need to take a break if you're negatively impacting those around you. What do you think about that? I would love if you would put a 5 in the comments, as if you're raising your hand saying, this is me. I'm drained. I'm exhausted. I'm fatigued emotionally. And when you're drained emotionally, it impacts you physically, because now you can't do what you want to do. It takes a toll on your body, your physical body, especially if you're losing sleep. Then you can't function as well as you would, right? Empathy is expensive, I'm trying to tell you. There has to be a balance between empathy for others and compassion for ourselves. This conversation comes up, or this topic comes up, because I had a conversation with someone who will be on my podcast in a few weeks, so you all stay tuned. But we were talking about getting in the workplace and taking on these roles where so much is required just to get them on track. I don't know how they find us or we find them, but there's an attraction. They seek us to come and help. And what happens is we come in and we see what all needs to be taken care of. What all needs to be changed? We tried to bring order. And what she said was perfectionism. You start bringing in, okay, well, this needs to be fixed and this needs to be fixed. Okay, well, if I put a few more hours in here, okay, well, if I take this home, and you start accomplishing these things, but it's still not done. So this heavy load you're carrying, you haven't let go of. It becomes a daily routine now. Now it's expected. And now because leadership can see how much you can handle, they continue to give it to you. And it's my mindset sometimes where it's like, okay, I can do this. Okay, well, I can work smarter. I can figure this part out. Okay, well, I can do this here and this part here. That'll take care of this. But it takes such a toll on us, especially if you have to get everybody on board, because guess what? This organization, this company, this business, it was already out of order before you got there. And who knows how long it's been in this position. How can one person redo all that's been done for all of these years? It's like, for those who have children, it's like always trying to get them to do what they're supposed to do. It's like pulling a heavy bag of rocks. That's all I can think of right now. But as a parent, you get tired of pulling and let's go. This is the way you should do it. Let's go. You got this. It's draining. It's taxing. It's exhausting. But you do it out of love. You do it because it's your responsibility. You do it because you want to see the best for them. And I'm not saying you should treat your job like you treat your child. But I am saying that some of us take our work seriously. Some of us know that our name is on it, and we want it to be right. And we don't like wasted time. We don't like wasted energy and wasted resources. If we're there, we're there to make a positive change. We are change makers. We want to leave a positive change. It has to be for the better. But what happens when all of that energy is exerted and you are left with nothing? You are left with nothing. And that company is still going about their day-to-day business that they were doing before you got there. And you are now in the hospital room, getting fluids, trying to get rest, you're getting prescriptions. It takes a toll. Empathy is expensive. How many of you are carrying emotions that don't even belong to you? So this isn't even a workload now. This is emotions. How many of you are the strong friend? How many of you are caretakers? How many of you are the support system, the listening ear, the helping hand? Are you giving others more than you're giving yourself? Bill Bullard says the highest form of knowledge is empathy. The highest form of knowledge is empathy. But how smart are you if it's unmanaged? That's no longer the highest form. I have one more quote for you. Empathy is seeing with your eyes of another, listening with your ears of another, and feeling with the heart of another. This is by Alfred Adler. How empathetical are you to your own detriment? For everyone who can relate to this message, for everyone who finds themselves depleted, for everyone who is listening to this message and love those around us and find it hard to not extend that help or that heart or that ear. Here's a few things that you can do. The first is set boundaries. Learn to say no, or not right now. Or maybe you don't answer the phone, depending on what the need is. I can think of someone right now who I haven't spoken to in a while. I pray for her. I pray for her all the time. But what she didn't understand was that I had a family. Yes, I understand she was going through some things, but so was I. And she doesn't have, it's just her. That's what I'll say. It's just her. And I had to explain to her one time, like, you know what? My cousin lives down the street and I barely see her. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's definitely not a good thing. I know I have to do better at that. But if my cousin lives down the street and I haven't seen her, and you know that I'm working on something right now, don't be surprised that I haven't seen you. I talk to you. I check in on you. I let you know that I'm praying for you. But you can't be shocked. My best friend is states away. I haven't seen her in a minute. But as soon as we get on the phone, it's like we never lost touch. Sometimes you have to focus on yourself. And right now I'm at a point where I had to get some things off the ground. I had to get some things going and in progress. I have some things that I'm working on. And sometimes you have to do that in the nighttime, in the dark, in the early mornings. There's only so much time in a day. Yes, you make room for what's important. And I do that, but my make room and your make room may not be the same. And so it's important again to set those boundaries. Yes, I've had this discussion with her. Sometimes she understands, and I believe sometimes she doesn't. And then when I go through the times where I haven't spoken to her, it's like I'm hesitant to call because I know off the top it's going to be like, Kim, long time no hear. I didn't know what happened to you. I mean, it's like, so you dread having that conversation. So that limits the times that I reach out. Because some things that you just can't take at the moment. I just can't handle it at the moment. But I pray for her. I have old friends that I'm no longer friends with that I pray for because I know what they were going through when I saw them last. I can't hold on to that relationship. I can't, I don't want to say it's not worth it for me to reach out, but it wouldn't be in my best interest to reach out. But I pray for them. So set those boundaries. Say no. And sometimes you have to detach emotionally. How do you do that? I say pray for them. That's how I do it. I'm not a psychologist, a sociologist, or anything like that. I'm telling you what I do. Again, I am Kim, the SME, speaker of my experiences. We have to learn to not solve everyone's problems. It's okay to stand by them, but it's not okay to carry everybody's burdens. This is something we have to learn. What happens when we don't? We become over-involved. And for some of us who are not high on the discernment spectrum, you can be manipulated. You can be taken advantage of because of your heart. And you're also self-sabotaging yourself because now you're caring more for others than you are for yourself. And so now you're putting yourself and your health in harm's way. With all this being said, would you change who you are? If you ask me if I would change who I am, no. I would not change who I am. It's part of me. I was made like this for a reason. Someone has to care. We can't all just be heartless and, not caring. Someone has to care. There has to be someone there that helps build trust and build relationships. How do you get in a relationship or build trust with somebody who you don't think cares or has your best interest or understands you or is trying to understand you? How do you do that? You can't. How are you a change maker if you have no empathy? Are you just creating change for yourself? That's just being you. That's not being a change maker. I'm a change maker. I'm a history maker. Of course I have empathy. As I close out this message, I would like for you to share, when has empathy felt too expensive for you? When have you felt that it was too expensive? And how do you refill your emotional tank? All the giving, you have to take a moment to refill, to regroup. How do you do that? I thank you for tuning in today. I am your host, Kim, the SME. I hope that you extend your heart to others, but not at the detriment of yourself. I hope that you care for others. I hope that you extend those helping hands. But I hope that you learn to manage your empathy. There's only so much that we can give. You all have a blessed week. Share this message with someone who you think can relate to this. Share this message. Let them know they're not alone. Share this message if you haven't been able to get your message across. Share this message with someone who needs to hear from someone else. Yes, we care and we love you, but we have something going on too. Yes, we care and we love you and we want to help you. We want to see you succeed, but we're tired. We're exhausted. We're drained. We are fatigued. Much love, and you all be blessed until next week. You all have a blessed one. God bless.